The technology in which we're going to be building. Tonight's example of unfortunate happenings with technology is a typical example of one of the things that we're dealing with. Okay, anyway, welcome this evening, finally, to an update presentation of the development and behind the scenes look at the research of the design for Mayapur's Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. Tonight we'll be looking at a slide presentation illustrating the past 5 years of research and design. We'll be looking at the theory of the design approach, the esoterics of mandalas and yantras used, various aspects of a Vedic planetarium, the design itself, the model, and the team involved. And hopefully it will be of interest and inspiring for the devotees here tonight. So we'll start with the history of the design. We have quite a long history, and Lord Nityananda Ki Jai. In 16th century, Lord Nityananda himself said or predicted to Jiva Goswami, the one extraordinary temple shall be built in glorification for Lord Chaitanya, within which with each square here represents a different planet. And this yantra is called the the Vastu Purush Mandala. The floor plan of the temple is based on the Vastu Purush Mandala, and it acts as a subtle floor plan. The square in the center of the mandala is presided over by Lord Brahma, and encircling it is a number of squares or padas, funnily enough. These are seats for other deities, which form a hierarchy of 32 divinities, and then in the 8 cardinal directions are presided over by 8 planets. So this mandala particularly embodies a contained image of the ordered cosmos and acts as an architectural mechanism that provides a blueprint for the building. Also, during this initial research work done a number of years ago, this interesting North Indian painting turned up. This was done in the 1600s, aspect of the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, that, as the title of the project indicates, is very integral with the building itself. In broad terms, the planetarium is represented in 6 ways. The architecture itself, the motifs upon the panels of the interior, the 4 dharms as diorama exhibits, the ceiling and floor designs representing the movements of the planets, a traditional dome-shaped science planetarium, and the building's relationship itself with the cosmos. So a study was considered when looking into Srila Prabhupada's title, the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. It appeared from the title that the temple structure itself should act as a planetarium, of a refraction photograph of atomic substance. Within every atom there is seen to be a universe, a complete independent whole unit. And we'll take this image of this atom and we'll show you how this was used for a sophisticated grid of the temple floor plan. Actually, we'll just go back 1 slide. Look at this floor plan. Now we'll go back and see the nodal points of this atomic substance. I'll just point out with a zippy little thing. This point, these key nodal points. This is actually Krishna's own design work. So we're drawing directly from his design work, and this was the basis for the floor plan. So we'll move forward again to the floor plan. To give you an idea in square feet, and with that scale could be qualified as the largest temple structure on the planet in the history of mankind. And hopefully we'll get our video projector working to promote it. We can see the 3x3 grid representing the Vastapurush Mandala. I'll just point that out. 3 here, 3 here. This is a 3x3 grid that we saw previously, with this central square representing Brahma, or is the seat of Brahma, which Krishna resides in the middle. The planetary yantra, the dynamics of the circle and square configuration. You can see obviously the many different squares here and the circles that are contained within that. Bull Mandala is represented with 7 different islands with pathways and parikram walkways. And Mount Meru is, excuse me Maharaj, sorry, I can't do my zapper.
That's my zapper.
This is your zapper. Mount Meru is in the elevation. Mount Meru represented in the middle. The 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1 around the back. And the 4 mountain ranges. And a key thing to note here, it is said in the Maya Mata Shastra that if the design and proportions of the temple are in every way perfect, there'll be perfection in the universe as well. So this is a very significant point, and we've taken this very seriously, that we need to reveal that drop of perfection here in Sri Mayapur Dham that will radiate throughout the entire world, or as this quote suggests, throughout the entire universe. It is mentioned in the Manashara Shastras that to understand architecture or any of the cultural arts dealing with more than 3 dimensions, you first require to understand the dynamics of sound vibration. So this is actually based on the harmonics of the traditional Vedic, what can we say, sound vibrations represented in the Manashara Shastras. Main building, you can see there are many different harmonics working within the main structure. So these are also based on sound vibration to get those harmonics working properly and then manifesting into the visual medium. The following slides will be showing the dynamics of the designed temple components, how the structure made from stone and brick can be imbued with dormant movement and energy in the very nature and how it is perceived and conceived. So this is how it all came together. We can see the dynamics of the shapes there working for the central structure, how they all fit together. And from left to right, the development of the complexity of the central building, the elevation and the floor plan. Unfortunately, we're cutting off the top image, and they normally conform to one of the 4 systems of the 30, 60, 90 or 120 degree geometry. But we find with this building it fits very nicely with all 4 systems, which confirms the the exactness of the design. And also with the floor plan, this 3x3 Vastapurush Mandala grid generated from the central altar. And this is expanded to align the center of the domes, and to it will further in future be generated throughout the temple environment and the whole Mayapur city. All this work culminated with the model. This model was made by Jambavati Devi Dasi from Ukraine, who presently lives in Mayapur but will shortly be coming to London with her husband Chaitanya Chandradoy Prabhu, who is also a very talented architect like herself. Here is Jambavati Devi Dasi working away. Here's another shot of this beautiful model that she made. At a 6-foot high level, to show what it would be like when entering the environment of the temple. And again, a color illustration of that. So now we're moving on to the interior. We've just had a request to improve the focus, which would be appreciated. Inherent in this design, we see all the rotation, geocentric rotation of the planets in there, and this can be further described in other exhibitions, bringing to light the nature of the fifth canto, that the Earth planet actually is in the center of our... This plan is showing the 9 petals, or islands, of the lotus flower of the Dham, which many of you would have traversed during the Navadvip Dham Mandal last week. This gives an indication of the site for future construction. This one overlooking from the Samadhi, and this one looking back from Srila Prabhupada's Pushpa Samadhi. Certain of these configurations have great potency. So the slides that are to follow are to demonstrate objectively the overwhelming auspicious location for the future temple on the site of Sri Mayapur Dham. These will be a little technical, but have incredible significance, so I thought I would show them anyway. Every latitude on Earth possesses unique geometry defined by the swing of the sunrise position over a year and the more complicated motion of the moon. So in addition, for the temple, produces a set of geometric angles that have enormous significance. The temple design is very broadly, in plan, a square orientated north, south, east and west. And the diagrams which follow show the temple as a small square surrounded by a large circle indicating the horizon around which the rising and setting points are. Here is another picture of the temple with the Ganga in the background. The Mayapur Temple Vedic Planetarium will establish the principles of life using scholarly methodology and will educate its visitors in the Vedic worldview that the universe is a life-based hierarchical system originating from a supreme living force, Krishna, and showing it is non-sectarian and essential to human life. This beautiful image put together by Nitya Tripta, Devi Dasi. While looking at this model, I'll recite a couple of verses from the Bhakti Ratnaka, which is Srinivasacharya's vision of Navadvip Dham. Reading from the 12th chapter, Srinivasacharya saw the enchanting golden city of Navadvip, bordered by the beautiful Ganges river and well bound with jeweled bathing ghats.
On the 6th also, and he will play more in Vrindavan. After about 15 minutes presentation, songs, Vaishnavas.
কোথায় ওই তো হাতে
না। বাথরুমে যাওয়ার সময় আপনারা জলের ট্যাপ অবশ্যই বন্ধ করবেন। বাথরুম ব্যবহার করার সময় আপনারা জলের ট্যাপ অবশ্যই বন্ধ করবেন। আপনারা সাইড রান মেন গেটটা ক্লিয়ার করবেন। মেন গেটে যারা দাঁড়িয়ে আছেন আপনারা সাইড রান গাড়ি অফুরন্ত বিনা পয়সায় বিচার বিতরণ করে আসছে আমাদের মন্দিরের শুরু করতে। জুতা খুলে ডান দিকে চলে আসুন। জুতা খুলে ডান দিকে চলে আসুন। 8 টাকা করে কুপন করছে খাওয়ার জন্য, এদিকে আসবেন না, খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা শোনা আছে, সামনে চলে যান।
যারা আড়াই যাবেন না জুতা নিয়ে চলে যাচ্ছে। জুতা জুতা জুতো আগে আছে, পায়ে দেখুন, পায়ে জুতো আছে, পায়ে। সেদিকে আছে বাসটা, সেদিকে আছে বাসটা, চলে যাবে। সামনে সামনে সরে চলে যান, সামনে চলে যান। সামনে খুব খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে। মন্দির দর্শন করলে জুতা বাইরে রেখে আসুন। খাওয়ার জায়গা চলে আছে, খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা সামনে আছে, চলে যান। 8 টাকা করে কুপন করেছেন, সোজা চলে যান, সামনে খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে, এদিকে আসবেন না। মন্দির দর্শন করলে সামনে ওদিকে জুতা রাখার ব্যবস্থা নেই, জুতা খুলে ডান দিকে চলে আসুন। ডান দিকে বাইর পথ, ওদিকে প্রবেশ পথ নাই, বাইর পথ। জুতা আসা করে আসবেন না, জুতা বাইরে খুলে রেখে আসুন। ডান দিকে চলে আসুন, এদিকে রাখবেন না, এদিকে রাখার ব্যবস্থা নেই, সামনে বারান্দা চলে যান। খাওয়ার কুপন করলে এদিকে আসবেন না, খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা সামনে আছে, ওদিকে চলে যান। মন্দির সারাদিন খোলা থাকবে, আস্তে আস্তে চলুন। সামনে আগে দাদা ভেতরে যায়, দেখে যারা খেতে যায় তারা খাইয়ে যায়। জুতা খুলে ডান দিকে এদিকে চলে আসুন 8 টাকা করে খাওয়ার কুপন করলে এদিকে আসবেন না এদিকে খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা নেই আট টাকা করে খাওয়ার কুপন করলে এদিকে আসবেন না খাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা সামনে আছে সামনে চলে যান সোজা একদম
So today is a very big celebration.
Do you want to close those doors? It's not noise is not too much.
Oh, maybe. So it's a year of Prabhupada's centennial, and today is a very nice day and a big holiday. It's, I would say, it's a good time to sum something up and to look forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do you estimate the situation in Hare Krishna movement at all? How many people are in it all over the world? And what perspectives you see for this movement all around the world and for the Ukraine especially?
Estimates as figures of people, or figures of people that are taking part of our movement throughout the world. I don't have any exact figures. We do know that there's approximately 500 temples, and each of those temples has an ever-expanding congregation. And the congregation, some are taking part more often than others. In America alone, we have certainly thousands of people who are attending our temples, our temple programs every Sunday, and of course we're practically in every country of the world. So I cannot give any exact figures. I don't know. This is not a very good question. Mukunda Maharaj is somebody to ask these questions. Statistics. I don't have statistics.
Okay, but it's spread enough all over the world.
Yes, it's in every major country of the world. We have approximately 500 temples of the world in an ever-expanding congregation. And I would say in the former Soviet Union, there are at least 20-30,000 people who are practicing Krishna consciousness to a significant degree. That is also all increasing.
Yeah, and about Ukraine?
Ukraine, we have practicing Krishna consciousness at least, I'd say, 3,000. People are practicing Krishna consciousness to varying degrees, and that is also increasing regularly, as we can see from the attendance at our different programs that are coming to our Sunday program that we have every Sunday. And you say that you're asking about perspectives for spreading Krishna consciousness, and throughout the world, and specifically in Ukraine as well. The primary foundation that this movement was built on for spreading Krishna consciousness was through the distribution of the books of the founder Acharya of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada worked tirelessly during his time, the 12 years that he established this movement from 1965 to 1977. Not only did he travel throughout the world and lecture and meet very influential people throughout the world, but wherever he went, he was also simultaneously translating the Vedic literatures of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita into English language, which was further translated into other languages throughout the world. So by his efforts to spread these teachings, which are dating back thousands of years, we've seen that practically many people are reading these books and learning of the science of Krishna consciousness, and they're looking for a way to express the natural devotion of love of God, which is situated within the heart of every living being. So when we say that the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading, it's not that we are spreading Krishna consciousness, but actually Krishna consciousness is already there, lying dormant in everyone's heart. And we've seen practically, when people read these books by Srila Prabhupada, that they find something that sparks that dormant love of God that is there within the heart. And just as you see here in Mayapur, you see that there are many temples that are being built. You see that there are chanting of the holy name is going on, not only here in Sri Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, but throughout all of Mayapur and Navadvip. And these are all natural expressions of love of God, which is lying dormant in everyone's heart. The construction of the temples is a way to express this love of God, to do something in devotion to God, to build a very wonderful, beautiful temple, to glorify God. So our perspectives for spreading Krishna consciousness and the expanding of Krishna consciousness throughout the world, and specifically in Ukraine, is simply to continue the mission that Srila Prabhupada himself started by continuing to print and publish these Vedic literatures and to spread the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and in this way give everyone the opportunity to awaken that natural love of God which is there within their heart, and their means of expression will naturally become manifest in due course of time. We see that when one can actually unleash this desire to serve God, because every living being by nature is a servant of the Supreme Lord. Everyone wants to serve somebody, but our primary satisfaction is found when we actually repose this propensity to serve in relationship to God. So when this love of Godhead is awakened by hearing about the activities and instructions of the Lord, then people are looking for a medium to express that love. So many temples will be built throughout the Ukraine, we can understand, as they are already starting. These are just simply natural expressions of this love of God. And just as we're seeing over the last 12 years that the temples are ever increasing throughout the world, specifically we're seeing throughout Ukraine as well that in many of the major cities already little seeds of these temples have already begun to sprout, and they're gradually growing and will soon flourish, with many people coming to take part in the activities, as you see here in Sridham Mayapur, which is the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. These will also continue to manifest themselves throughout Ukraine as well.
Okay, thank you. And another part of questions. You was one of the leader of a parikrama, and that was my first parikrama in my life. And in yours?
What was it for mine?
Yes.
Oh, I've been on the parikrama. Not that many times. Maybe this is about the 4th time I was on the parikrama.
Yeah. And do you remember your first one?
Yes, very much.
And what's your expression after your first parikrama?
What was my impression?
Impression, yes.
Well, my first parikrama was 20 years ago.
No.
And I had been practicing Krishna consciousness at that time for approximately 3 years. And when I went on parikrama, it really instilled within me a great sense of conviction and faith.
Yeah.
I mean, already I had adequate faith to devote my life to the practices of Krishna consciousness, but by going on parikrama and then practically seeing all of these wonderful places that we've heard about, and then seeing them and seeing that how the local people also revere these places the same way that we do, and it gives me great conviction that that Lord Chaitanya actually appeared 500 years ago, and he's being worshipped, and the Krishna consciousness movement is certainly has its very, very deep roots here in the culture in India.
Yes, wait a little.